If you're struggling to use all the apps in Microsoft 365 or even know what apps are available, then this is the video for you. I've got Nico joining me from Itchycraft, where he's going to show us some widget boards which bring everything together into one digital workspace. So by the end of this video, you'll know what Itchycraft widgets are, what they look like, and all the benefits that they can bring to you and your organization. Got new videos on Microsoft Teams and Microsoft 365 coming out every Tuesday, so make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified every time I release a new video. I'm Gavin Jones, a former transformation manager for a Fortune 500 company. I now help organizations of any size with modern workplace transformations. If you're interested in working together or even just getting the most out of Itchycraft boards, if you like the look of those, then stick around until the end for some details about how we might be able to work together. Nico, welcome. I guess for people that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself and your current role at Itchycraft.
Thank you for having me, Gavin. My name is Nico de Jong. I'm Dutch, based in the Netherlands, and as you said, working for Itchycraft. We build software on top of Microsoft, specifically Microsoft 365. I joined Itchycraft at the beginning of this year in a role of channel management and business development. I'm mostly looking after expanding our partner network. I hope to get more partners across the UK, the US, and of course as well the Nordics. That's basically my role.
And I guess for people that never heard of Itchycraft, how would you describe what you do? You mentioned widgets, but what does Itchycraft do?
Well, the widgets actually form a personal productivity hub. People get to select their widgets and the content in the widgets, and it sort of puts Microsoft 365 at people's fingertips, your personal landing page. And that's something that's sort of missing in Microsoft 365. There's nothing as such that really identifies Microsoft 365 as a digital workplace. And that's where we fit in. The way that we actually were sort of born out of a project that we were doing for a particular client. How can you make the digital workplace more relevant and more engaging? And out of various design thinking sessions, the idea of these widgets that you can adapt to your needs were born, bringing together all that value of that Microsoft 365 platform, because a lot of value in there. But how do you get it out and really get it in the hands of your users? That's an enormous challenge, and that's actually where we positioned our tool and our value.
So I guess with that, do you want to show us what the widgets bits looks like?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'm actually in Microsoft Teams right here, and if we look across the interface, then I am already a avid user, or Diego actually is already an avid user of different Teams apps down here. But this is of course somewhat limited space. But what we bring to the users actually sits down here, where Diego is welcomed. And Diego gets a couple of messages at the top of the most important things. And these messages actually come from the Microsoft 365 ecosystem to us, but they also come from the fact that I've placed particular widgets on this board, as we see down here. We see widgets for Diego's inbox and upcoming meetings, tasks, news, and every widget that has something to notify does that up here. Now Diego has his board all set up. But he can come in and change things to his liking. So let's say, if we talk about a thing like personal productivity, most people still work in their inboxes. They do something with tasks. Meetings are important. Jacob can come in and organize these things on the page in a fashion that he likes, that he prefers. So maybe giving more room to the tasks or less room to the calendar. And when he hovers over these different items, he instantly gets a view into what that item is. In this case, it's a meeting, so a Teams meeting. He's able to join a Teams meeting right from here without leaving this context. And that's really important about this tool, because they give in context information, things like files that are attached to this meeting, or in an inbox. Should I flag this for later use? Can I sort of archive this item? Now, if I have a quick task to note, talk to Gavin, as I'm doing now, I can almost immediately have that off my list very soon. But it's instant right there. Here, you're staying in context. So if you get those to-dos, you get to add them and take them off the list. But you can also get your planner items in there from the different planner boards, also to be done in the flow of work. And that's really important, that you can get these things done in the flow of work as news is brought in. You click into the news, you see those items, you close it down, you're back where you started. You don't really have to know that these items are actually coming from your SharePoint intranet. Same for reporting here. You just open up one of these reports to have a detailed view. Or if you want, you can sort of cycle through the different reports, but you can also go in and add other reports. So from the same interface without having to go to a Power BI platform, to select your reports or to look into your dashboards. These are the ones that are actually available to you, that have been targeted to you. You can go in and sort them to your liking, and then this widget changes all of that. Right. So this really allows you to quickly launch things, open things, stay in the same context, and then reduce context switching, essentially.
I mean, in my experience, if you show someone a nice chart, they're usually sold. But I guess the power of just pulling out stuff that's already in Microsoft 365 ecosystem, like Power BI, is the main benefit. It's not just a view, is it? It's just you can actually interact with those apps.
That's it. That's these things have to be actionable, and you shouldn't really be concerned about what's behind exactly as a technology. What we're trying to do with all of those widgets, we're trying to take the complexity away and sort of increase the possibility of being actionable, taking the action immediately, getting your work done without having to think where to log in, where to look, and all of those things. And not only for apps, but for news, for personal productivity, but also for something like search down here. There's a search widget, can go in, and also these things are immediately actionable. Like you can send an email, start a chat, see who he's reporting to. In this demo, I'm not really sharing any files with Jago because I'm Jago myself, but it will show you files you're working on, meetings that you're part of, and that richness is all in there, right from here, without having to, go from this place. But I guess more importantly, like you said, with the managers liking those reports and sort of the tangibility of things, that's what this offers as well. Sort of instant tangibility for users, and they can change things to their liking. They can also go in and add other things that might be relevant to them. Things like external news, for instance, like we have here. They get that on the board and give it a place that they like. And what's nice about, you can see that very well in this widget, is that all of the widgets have a default display that changes with the size of the widget. So without a user having to go into sort of like edit mode or having to know about different display templates, stuff like that, they can just go and find sort of the optimal size for this. At the same time, if we look up here, there's a little lock icon. Jago cannot move this one. So as a company, probably you want to have certain news always presented to your users. Then you can lock the widget, you can lock the size, so that Jago can move around things around that widget, but not the widget itself. And inside those widgets, you also have possibilities to push certain information based on audience. And that's a really important concept to us, personas and audiences. But also allow people to favorite and unfavorite other sites that they follow news of. So, this thing becomes something that people can make personal. And as such, it's adopting itself. It's like not invented here syndrome. If people are sort of pushed certain technology, they feel very different about that technology than when they get to make some changes, even if they're just superfluous changes. Although this is not really superfluous, but even if they just have the ability to do these kind of things, they make the tool their own. And that changes a lot for the user, at least.
So they can make that entire space their own. So that's per user view.
Yeah, and if they end up having to need more space, for instance, we see that with reports or with Power Apps that we also support, they can start creating tabs, as I've done up here. You can go in and there's no reports here, but you can then maybe in the reports section add one of these reports and resize them. Besides Power BI, we also support Tableau reports, so you can get sort of a full reporting board, and the same goes for a bit like self-service. But you can sort of bring together all of those things that are important to you on those boards, if you sort of run out of screen real estate.
Excellent.
And all of these widgets are audience targeted, the contents, but also the boards can be audience targeted. You can actually show that when I reset the board. So Jago here, can be part of any audience. We can either allow Jago to make a selection. So say, okay, I'm part of this, maybe of marketing communications. He's part of communications and selects communications. But more so, we target this at the groups within the company. And then Jago, maybe being part of sales, he just simply gets his board pushed like this. And this would be his starting point, where he can add widgets, move widgets around, resize them, and the concept of locked widgets as well, configure the contents of the widgets, have more options where he can delete widgets and that more space, additionally adding additional boards as I've just shown you. And this would then simply just be his starting point. If you join the company, this is the first thing you will see, but you can start changing that and making that more relevant to you. And that changes a lot for the adoption, but also for the usefulness, of course, for any digital workplace, basically.
Yeah, excellent. The main thing I see people confused about at the moment, which I think Microsoft has not helped with, by badging 4 seemingly disparate things together under the Viva banner. The Viva element that is just displaying your intranet in Teams. How do you recommend people work with those together? Would you see this replacing the Viva Connections homepage, maybe?
Yeah, to take a little step back, Viva is a number of capabilities that Microsoft is launching as a platform, but it is not a platform. It's actually separate capabilities, and in that you have your Viva topics for some knowledge management, Viva Insights that track behavior and give personal insights and company insights, and then there's Viva Learning that brings together different learning sources and brings them front and center essentially through SharePoint. And then finally, there's what you've just mentioned, Viva Connections. And Viva Connections is actually the app behind here. So as I open my board, this is essentially Viva Connections and your navigation across your internet. Either a quick navigation, which is called global navigation up here, some of the most important sites and news down here. But you can also have one or multiple levels of navigation sitting up here that can lead people into other essentially SharePoint sites. If you have those sites, you can hook them up to the navigation. If you don't, if you have less of those sites, then of course this menu would be a bit smaller. Ever since Viva Connections was introduced in February of this year, we integrated there because it's really a better together story. You bring in some navigation from the intranet, and then under the home button, in our case, we've put the board. You could also place it in different places. What I do see is that the Viva and Employee Experience platform, it's creating a lot of expectation, but you sort of need to break down the different into the different capabilities and see what you can do within that capability.
So comment below and let me know what you think about Itchcraft boards. I think they look pretty cool. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If people wanted Itchcraft boards right now, can they use that without Viva still?
Certainly, yeah. If you're working in Microsoft 65, if you're using your Outlook there, if you have a bit of SharePoint content, then you can also see that that experience sort of instantly populated. So from the get-go, you have content there. So it's a really good first impression that users get, and you also get after installing the product. It's quite intuitive from there.
Yeah, excellent. Is there a client that comes to mind that's got great results from using Itchcraft boards?
We have a bank client, Rabobank. They have 35,000 users. And they're running the widgets on the homepage in SharePoint, which they call the Rabo Hub. And they're measuring engagement. And they're up to almost 70% daily usage across the company. And that's quite an impressive number, because the research shows that only 25% of the workforce interacts with the internet on a daily basis. So these boards really create a type of engagement that you would normally not have with an internet. We do depend quite a bit on customers providing us this kind of information, because we run completely on Microsoft So we don't take any data out. That makes us super compliant and stable in a sense. So we really rely on a close collaboration with customers to get those kind of insights to improve the product.
Those sound high numbers. I remember in my corporate job, you used to have an intranet that sort of popped up when you first logged onto your computer for you, and everyone just used to close it down straight away and never see any of the news. Exactly. So to get 70 to 85% of people actually interacting with it when they see it is huge.
Once you get that concept of sort of personal dashboard and the framework that we offer, and of course we introduce widgets over time as well, but businesses are specific. So a lot of our clients end up creating their own widgets, which as long as you have somebody that knows modern web technology, then you can start creating those things, especially with all of the APIs out there. There's a lot of opportunity to create additional integrations.
Yeah, awesome. And is there anything that Itchcraft widgets or Itchcraft boards has done for a client that you didn't expect, maybe?
Two actually very different cases sort of come to mind. There's another enterprise customer whose name I cannot mention, but they are a large energy drink company. They've sort of created this strategy around making the widget the center of digital workplace. And we didn't really expect that, because we saw it more as a power-up. So that was a great confirmation of this kind of concept working really well for users, and also in maturing your digital workplace. But on the other side of the spectrum, so we have this customer in care, and the surprising upside there is that they said, okay, once we introduced these boards, there was sort of an instant personal intranet. So that made sense to people. What these people reported was they're very enthusiastic about having that board, and because they're in care, and the main thing in care is, of course, people that are taking care of the clients there. So they reported that by looking at the board, they got an instant overview, and they actually get more time to spend with those clients. Mm-hmm. And that is a sort of an unexpected thing, that if you're in technology and you're so focused on that, you never really consider. But in that respect, being not a hardcore knowledge worker behind a computer, to be able to actually be able to focus more on your main task by simplifying the digital workplace. Yeah, that was a great customer case, basically.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I thought we're big about on me time, trying to save people time to do more human things rather than being stuck in technology the entire time.
Yeah, that actually it connects quite well with your story. Yeah.
What's your best tip for making a better workplace for employees?
Talking about technology is very abstract for a lot of people. If you can make that tangible and show people, hey, for instance, with the widgets, these are the widgets that you have on your board. Would you be satisfied with that? Mm-hmm. That creates a completely different dialogue. You say, hey, we should talk about categorizing stream videos and label them correctly, or attribute metadata to documents. You need to help me out there, sort of do the information architecture. What? What does that deliver to me today? That's the thing. What's in it for me now?
Yeah.
You need to be a lot more aware about that.
Yeah. Cool. What's the best compliment you've ever received about Itchcraft widgets?
I guess that Microsoft should have built this solution. When we show people what it does, people instantly understand it. And for those that have struggled with what to use for what, and just looking at a platform like, as long as I get my email in and I do my meetings on Teams, it's really refreshing.
And I guess, where should people go if they want to find out more information about Itchcraft widgets, or even if they're ready to sign up right now and get started? What's the next steps for them?
Yeah, you can find all those resources on the website as well. Itchcraft.com has all of the information. /install has that pre-installation that you can run with any number of users for unlimited time. Just shows you a little better that it's a trial. That's a great starting point. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, you can always find me on LinkedIn. But otherwise, I'm sure that if people know how to reach you, that you can pass it on to us as well.
I will, sure. Yeah. So we've just seen how Itchcraft boards looks pretty cool, brings everything into one place, and you can start to get the most out of your Microsoft 365 subscription. If you want to find out more, there's some links in the description below, both to Itchcraft website and Nico's LinkedIn. Feel free to leave a comment in the description below and I can put you in contact. Please mention me time when you get on to talk to someone from Itchcraft. This helps support the channel and let them know that you've come from my videos, which would be very helpful. So you've seen how it brings everything together in Microsoft 365. If you want to transform your organization to make your employees' lives easier and you need some help doing that, then Itchycraft Boards is one way, or please reach out to us at MeTime to see if we can help. Book a call using the link in the description below if you want to find out more, and we can jump on a free strategy call to see how we might be able to help and the best next steps for you. So check out these videos next, and if you like the video, remember to click the like button, subscribe, and if you really liked it, consider buying me a beer using the link in the description below. It really does help support the channel and keep free content going out on YouTube. So thanks for watching so far, and we'll see you in the next video.